Hello everybody, this is Secondhand Dan coming to you from the Penny Pincher thrift shop, wearing my secondhand shirts, wearing my secondhand shoes, and I got the secondhand truck blues. That's my pretty much faithful F-150 Ford Larriat 2012, but I've got a minor issue. Apparently it's minor right now, so let me show you what's up. What's up? Now I know my rig isn't the shiniest penny in the cash drawer, but just the other day while I was out yard sailing, somebody complimented me on the looks of my truck. I'm like, that old thing? Yeah, thank you. Anyway, you know, you can see I have some upgraded wheels I bought a year ago. They came with the tires, secondhand tires on the wheels from an individual. I think I paid $600 for them. So the wheels alone probably are worth, you know, secondhand $600 in the condition they were. But I've got about 2 years on them right now. The thing is, they did come with studs, and I worked at pulling out some of these studs, and it was pretty hard on the wrist and the arm. You know, I made a special tool to get in there and pop them out, and I just gave up. You know, if they give me a ticket for riding studs, they might give me the opportunity to swap them out before when I go to a traffic court or whatever it is, and say I swapped them out. Can you sign off on that and not fine me? I've had them do that on the state inspection here, you know, every once in a while, if my state inspection is also up. But so, it's a tow package, this truck. You know, I got a little bit of pride in her. I have yet to need whatever this does. I know it has something to do with rear brakes, or trailer brakes, I should say. So that's what that's for. And I assume there's a beefier cooler, and I know it's got the probably came with the factory tow hitch, and I believe part of the package is also you get the outlets. I got, what is that, a 7-prong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 6-prong, and a 4-prong, plus the hitch that they put on the factory. This is the EcoBoost. I actually have some replacement badges to put on there, but I've never got around to putting them on there. Maybe I'll do that today. But first things first, I was towing with it. And, you know, I thought, okay, well, this is going to be fairly easy, you know. I'm not towing any earth mover. I'm just towing a little trailer with a motorcycle on it. This trailer and this here motorcycle. Got hitched up to it 100 miles from here. And when I started the first leg of the journey, you know, everything was cool, literally. You know, I'm always glancing down at the gauges. But all of a sudden, a engine overheating light showed up on the dash. And it's not just one of those little idiot lights. The thing was like a postage stamp, like 2 by 2 inch, said engine overheating. So I threw it into neutral and figured start coasting. Now let the engine maybe just catch some air without being under load. And the gauge did come down. It did right away. So after that, I just made sure, I said, well, maybe my RPMs, we were going uphill. So I made sure I kept my RPMs the rest of the trip, just like around 2,000. We were going uphill at the time, pulling this thing. I calculate between the bike and the trailer, there's probably about 1,100 pounds there. That should be a no-brainer. Hey, I'm trying to record a video here. Hey, I'm trying to record, no, never mind. Anyway, I was surprised when that engine light came on, because I figured this is a tow package. Even without a tow package, with that kind of load on the back, it shouldn't have been an issue. Well, like I said, it came on and it got me thinking, you know, as I'm driving the rest of the way, what could have caused that? I know I have a little bit of morning sickness, so I'm calling it. When I started up, there's a slight little shudder. I'm figuring the plugs are probably more than worn. I'm assuming they're original plugs in here and original coils. So I thought, well, maybe it's misfiring, causing it to be hotter than it should be. So I thought, well, maybe I'll change the plugs and the coils. But of course, the obvious thing was, well, let's coolant. I'm like, there's a coolant level there. I don't see any. Open it up and look down in there. I can't see any coolant. All right, so I said, well, the coolant's a little bit low. And I know in the past year, I don't know if it's been longer than that. You know, I thought maybe it was just the nature of the beast. This truck does have an electric fan. And I say I'm always riding right in the middle with the hot temperature gauge. So I'd be at a yard sale and the gauge said we're operating in a great zone, neither hot nor cold, but yet the fan would kick on. You know, it's a little bit embarrassing, especially when you want to leave the truck running, because I go to some neighborhood yard sales a lot of times. I want to hop out of the truck, you know, go into their driveway, check out what's for sale, and jump back into the truck and go to the next one. Because if you're at a yard sale, neighborhood yard sale, there are going to be 50 sales, so you don't want to shut the truck off every single time. But like I said, the fan would kick on. So I thought, it's just the nature of the beast. Or I thought, well, maybe the temperature sensor is reading incorrectly. And I thought, well, maybe that's another reason it kicked on the high heat, the engine overheating. I thought, well, maybe the temperature sensor that's been kicking on the fan when it's not needed, maybe it went a little bit beyond, you know, a couple more degrees, and caused the engine overheating light to come on. So that was another thought. But like I say, with the obvious thing appears to be I'm a little low on coolant. I don't see anything shaking in there, so I want to add some coolant. And with going to add some coolant, I thought, well, I got like over a half gallon of orange coolant. You have to mix it 50-50. I figure, why just top this off? Why don't I drain out X amount, then mix that 3/4 gallon totally up and pour it in there. And if I'm still missing any, I can top it off with some of what I took out of there. So I cleaned the bucket. That's where I'm at on this. We want to add some, beef up the coolant, because I've never did a coolant flush, never paid anybody to do a coolant flush. So that's where I'm at on this. Let's flush this thing, or at least, well, it's not going to be a flush. It's going to be a drain and a fill to proper level. Now, my first reaction was to go onto the YouTube and see who else has flushed their coolant. I've only perused 2 videos, and the 2 that I've perused, one was like, disconnect the hose all the way back here by the transmission. And the other one was like, well, you just in here between the wheel, the passenger wheel, and you can reach it. Well, I think the one that just said between the passenger wheel and reaching up in there, I think they don't have a 2.7 turbo, because I can't see the petcock. So I'm still trying to pin down exactly where my petcock is. Or maybe I should just go ahead and start looking to see if there is a break in the coolant line. But this guy says something for you people with rear coolers. Okay, well, let's see. Do I have a rear cooler? What's that mean? Here's some Xerox. I looked in there, and when you look down the old sight glass they give you, 3 quarts, which is 3/4 of a gallon. So, which will be a gallon and a half if I mix it 50-50, which is good for like 34 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. I've never seen 34 degrees below zero in my life here in Pittsburgh. By the way, it's a very nice day out there. It's right now it feels like it's about 75 degrees here on this Monday, September the 15th. So we're in search of a petcock to, like I said, drain some out. Because if I drain out a gallon and put in a gallon and a half, I'm not sure how low it was. And if that's the reason why the check engine light came on, it could be. It would make sense. But maybe I won't have to return any of the old solution to the vehicle. So let's look to see if I can find that petcock. Now this is a turbo, and so this first radiator out here is a cooler for the air that the turbo pulls in. This radiator right here is for the transmission, and it probably also jumps back into the radiator. The transmission line probably jumps into the radiator also, so it gets double cooled. And this is the engine coolant radiator back there. I guess you could consider that mildly complicated, being that in the old days it's like wham bam, you would spot the petcock, say there it is, and put your pliers on it. Well, this is a dual fan, by the way. So well, let's go down and take a look. Well, I can definitely see the back of the turbo air cooler. Sorry about that glare. This is the turbo air cooler, ain't the regular radiator. Maybe I need to jack this up a little bit. I think oh, okay, there's something there. The radiator's up higher. Back in the day, the radiator was down here, the bottom of it. Now it looks like the bottom of it is up here. And I do see a red knob. There it is. I believe that is for releasing the coolant. Yeah, they put some text on it, but who can read it from here? And there's a little spout under there. And you know when you crack it open, it's going to land smack on top of the frame and go all over and dribble city. So maybe I can find a hose to put on there. That way my coolant, the used coolant, won't get any more dirty in case I have to top off my system with it. So let's go look for a hose to go over that. Hey, how do you like my creeper? If you know what that is from, I know a lot of other YouTubers do is they say, comment in the, let me know in the comments if you know what that is. But that's what I'm using as a creeper right now. And literally, it's not a creeper would push me another 3-4 inches up into the engine anyway, and I would have less space. I could jack this up a little bit, but that would change the tilt of the engine, the radiator, which means the coolant would be not as draining as low as possible as it is in this position. Ideally, I guess we should open up the petcock and then put the whole truck up on its end. I don't think so. All right, let's go look for that hose. I know a lot of people say, hey, Second Dan, what do you have for lunch? I said, just a common man's lunch, you know, a mojito and a slice of pizza. There's the pizza, and there's the mojito, a mocktail. All right, I'm still looking for that hose though. I just remembered where there's a piece of hose slash tubing at. So if it's going to slide on there, that would be most excellent. I have put the trash out for the trash man or trash woman or trash they. Anyway, looky here. So let's give it a whirl. Cut one end off and see if it don't slide over that little section up there. I always hate to butcher something up that seems to be in perfect condition. Largely, but I pulled it out of the garbage, for crying out loud. I guess I could keep it around if it works for future radiator drainage, although I've had this truck for 10 years-ish, and this is my first time to do something with the radiator coolant. All right, let's go put this in the vise. I believe I have a, well, it's a little pizza, a PVC tubing cutter. So that should work. Alrighty, I've got my pliers drawer. That's there it is. That's a good place to put it. I can assure you this is secondhand. Although I think I did buy a new one time, maybe while I was down in Florida, because I didn't have one at all and the job was at hand. Okay, how do I get this blade to retract? Okay, I think I did it. Come on, snap. Still hanging on by a thread, huh? This is, after all, a PVC cutter, not a vinyl tube cutter, but I think that might be what we're looking for. I guess technically I should shorten it, but then what if you need a longer hose? So if I put this, well, it's that high, so, and it's got to come out from under the truck, so maybe this is the perfect length. So let's try that. And take a pair of pliers, although I'm not sure what the space is like up in there. Here's a set of channel locks. Channel locks is a brand name. These are Sears. So, but everybody knows what you're talking about when you say channel locks. Talking about these things. And here's your traditional slip joint pliers. To the Batmobile! Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the steering wheel to the right. Put a little more room underneath there. And by the way, you know, I'm secondhand Dan because I deal in antiques and collectibles. And if you want to see some of them, I would suggest you go onto eBay and look up the seller by the name of Auction Boss. And so you can see what I'm about, some of the things I like to sell. All right, well, I'm going to climb under here. First thing I'm going to try and see if the petcock is going to crack open. There's no sense in seeing if the hose fits if I can't even get the drain part open. Lovely. I bet you they make a tool that's shaped like a bottle cap, but it's like a small bottle cap. And even though I'm touching it right now with the pliers, okay, you can't go around it. You have to go prongs on both sides. Then let me open the pliers to the slip joint position. Come on, let's slip over there. There we go. Okay, well, I've got a slight grip and it's not turning yet. You know, it's 2012, it might not have been turned in 20 or 15 years. I'm not the original. Oh, there it goes, it's turning. It's not like the old butterflies. Okay, I do see a slight drip. Let me see if my hose. Okay, the hose fits on there like it was made for it. Okay, and now I can turn it with my fingers. So, get my head between the bumper and the wheel. Get my bucket ready. If anybody thinks you know where this vinyl hose, what it was originally for, comment down below. Or up above, or to the left, or to the right. Just make a comment, and a nice one. Okay. So long as the height of the radiator, petcock, is fairly higher than this bucket here. I'd say it's about there, so it should have no problem pushing through that tube and into the bucket. Curious what color it looks like. This is a vehicle to take orange coolant. Okay, I got it to turn a little bit more with my fingers. There's nowhere to grab a hold though. Hold my weight up. Okay, turn a little more, and it's wide open. I think yep, I can hear it trickling in the bucket. This thing's going round and round. I don't know if it's coming out any further than it, like it came out so far and stopped, but it still spins. The amount of coolant is a trickle, but it is orange. And there's no rust in it. It's a mouse turd in it, but I think that was already in the bucket. So, I wouldn't be afraid to reuse some of this if I need to. But, being that it looks that good, I think I'm just going to shut her down. And, well, I don't know, what do you think? Does even good coolant, I don't have a coolant tester. Does good looking coolant still have the same coolant capabilities as older coolant? Well, it's probably going to take a while. I'm going to let it go for a while. I'll find something else to do. And at that rate, I could probably come back in 15 minutes and see where we're at. From here, it looks like a bucket of urine. Still trickling in there. Now, if you don't know, this is orange coolant. You're not supposed to mix the two, orange and green. Maybe you can do that if you're painting, but when they say coolant, I wondered why you couldn't do that. Well, I've seen the results of people that have done that, and some of those just rolled in type videos where people had mixed their coolant and it starts to turn into jello when those two come together. I guess the chemical composition of them causes them to turn into jelly. I mean, I'm still scratching my head as to why did we really have to change coolants. I think there's another one, isn't there? Green, orange. Is there a yellow out there also? Ooh, purple. Purple, I don't know. But 2 coolant colors is more than enough. I like the old days when we had just one color. All right, well, let's give that a little bit of time. And we'll look again. All right, well, I'm done draining coolant, so not that I got a lot of it out, but it's slow going and the coolant looks good, so why am I messing with something? And another thing, it started dribbling, so coolant there looks like orange Kool-Aid. I'm going to get my mix and top it off, run it, and top it off until I use my mix up. I can't imagine that it's going to take more than, well, there looks maybe a half a gallon down there. And I got a, if I mix that all up to 50-50, that's a gallon and a half. I'm not sure how low it is, so let's find out. All right, well, I turned off the drain, and I said, be nice if I could test the how good a condition that is. We looked at it and said, well, it looks good, but does it test good? So I went back to my carry toolbox of automotive tools. Back in the day, I used to keep them in my standing toolboxes, but I don't do that much automotive, and so I don't need specialty tools, so I keep the specialty automotive tools in a carry toolbox. And I was like happy when I looked in and I said, an antifreeze tester. So I'm walking up the aisle with it, and as I'm looking closer, it says battery tester. I'm like, oh man. Okay, look at that, 1987. All right, well, I figured that's not the right tool for the job, so I went back to my carry-on toolbox and looked again, and I found this Easy Red. So we'll see what it says. I'm going to start by testing the antifreeze in the bucket there. Let's go get a sample. I'm going to burp out some of the air. Go in and get some more. Make sure the float is completely covered. And right now it says that antifreeze is good to, looks like about 40 below. So not only does it look clean, it's still doing its job. So I'm going to pour it back in, all of it. But at least now I have peace of mind after having drained some out and inspected it, that I'm not running a substandard coolant. So I'm going to pour this in, mix up a little bit of the new stuff, and top it off. So I was watching the one video about a fellow changing his coolant, and he said the one thing that happened to him after he changed it, his temperature gauge pegged, even though it was all new coolant and fresh coolant. And yeah, new and fresh, that's redundant. So he, I didn't follow his story to the end, but he said, well, he said he burped it and this and that. You could look into it, it's on YouTube. I think it says how not to flush a coolant system. But it says something about costing him $350. I don't know, but I don't want that to happen to me. So, like the last week, I did a brake inspection, and and if I'd done it properly, I wouldn't have messed up the caliper piston, and the whole job ended up. That inspection cost me $350 after I bought 2 new calipers and a set of new pads. Well, the pads are a given. They needed pads. The one caliper I think I replaced 2 years ago. The other one I never replaced, so it very well could have been the original caliper. So let me rinse this bucket out. Get rid of that mouse turd. Wow, there, mousy turd. There we go. So I want to get something to, well, I guess I can pull this white line off now. That was the perfect fit. Whoop, still got coolant in the line. Let me rinse my creeper off with the hose so it doesn't have a sticky residue on it next time I need it. I almost threw that away. So I'm going to keep it around. Might need it for other similar type jobbies. I'm going to flush out the tool also so it doesn't get a sticky residue. Even though it's coolant, it's got water in it, and water will evaporate eventually. One of my tricks is I have a grinder, like a bench grinder, and you know, you like to dip tools in water to cool them off. I add a little engine coolant to the water so it doesn't evaporate as fast. But eventually it does evaporate. Take care of your tools and your tools will take care of you. All right, I'm going to drag this over to the hose. There's no reason I should be laying on the ground anymore. All right. I guess I'm going to need this bucket to mix up some coolant in it. Figure if I pour a quart out of the bottle and add another quart of water, hopefully, well, it's kind of a mixed thing. Hopefully I use it all, but hopefully my system wasn't so low that I feel like an idiot for having let it get that low and I have to mix up another quart. But like I said, the temperature gauge always rode pretty much dead set in the middle. So let me go get the coolant. All right, I wanted to find a quart mason jar, but didn't see one. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time looking for something when I've got something that'll work. Glass. So it's the original bottom French coffee press. So one portion of this, one portion water. That's the beauty of having a second-hand story. You have a lot of things that can fit the bill for something else. Look at that orange. Whoa! It's nowhere as orange as the other stuff, but I'm sure it's a dye. All right, well, we want to put the top on and make sure that we get all the press the grinds down in there. Just kidding, I ain't gonna do that. All right, gonna dump this in the bucket. You know, I don't even know where I got my second-hand jug of coolant at, but I can tell pretty much 99% sure that's not diluted. And to prove that point, we can get the coolant tester again and suck up some of this. And see, that's ridiculous in the like 80 below zero. So you know it hasn't been mixed with water. Because when you buy something used like that, somebody's yard sale, it could have been mixed with water, and then they stored it in their garage, and I came along and gave them a quarter for it. But evidently it's pure coolant. If you like, I got a nice head on it. If you like this video, working on the F-150, I have one of me working on an F-150 down in Florida, changing the brake switch, which really surprised me about the interest that there was a lot of interest in that video. Even to this day, it's probably 9 months later, it's still getting views. Alrighty. Go ahead and give it a good rinse. I would not be afraid to drink coffee out of this. Of course, I can't remember the last time I used a French press. We got the old-fashioned drippolator. Well, I remember, I'm so old, I remember when drippolators, was that what they call them? Drip coffee makers. When Mr. Coffee was new, was the thing. Now, you have probably 50 different makers. Although I'm tempted to French press some coffee, but it's probably a longer process than just putting it in the drip coffee machine. Well, comment down below, is coffee in a coffee press better than coffee in a drip pot machine? All right, well, I've got my mix. Pour it in. I'm gonna take this whole thing already? Glug, 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 glug. It's loving it. I can't see anything. These reservoirs, they turn yellow and dusty, and well, I'll be a rat's whisker. It took it all. And I see no splish splash back and forth of the I don't see any coolant in there. Huh. All right, well, at least I didn't waste any. So do I mix up another well, I assume that coffee maker, I don't know, it's probably about 24 ounces. They don't have this, what I don't like, when they don't put the size on there. But we know a 12-ounce bottle of Coke is definitely that's got to be 24 ounces. All right, well, mix up some more. Please, sir, can I have some more? This is starting to look like, why is this getting tighter instead of loose? There we go. It's starting to look like the low coolant was the culprit for the engine light coming on. Even though it ran cool consistently before that. So figure halfway up there and then all the way up there is another 50-50 mix. righty. You remember the, was that what you call it, an adage? They drank the Kool-Aid, or he drank the Kool-Aid. You know what that refers to? Or you're just drinking their Kool-Aid. Okay, I do see coolant now on the tank. Let me get you in there. You can take a look. See that orange glow down there? Let me rock the truck. So technically it's still a little bit low. So it's time to start it. All right, well, after topping that bottle off over there, you can still see the level from here. The fans are running. So, and actually, since I poured coolant in it, I think the level's gone up. So I'm going to consider this job done. The temperature gauge riding practically in the middle, just leans a little to the left. I lean a little to the right, if you must know. But not yesterday before, that said engine overheat. Although it did not operate like it was overheating, it still ran perfect in that mode, but it was definitely a startler. And I wonder, was it really overheated, or just the gauges, because of low coolant, were not quite with the correct information? All right, well, I'll drive it for a day or two, and then check the coolant level again. If anything, the lower line there says coolant low range when cold. So isn't that spot on then? If it's or is it in between those two lines? Yeah, cold fill range, somewhere in between those two lines. So we're just peeking over that. If it goes to, oh, I saw it burp. If it goes down low, I'll mix up another less than half a quart maybe and top it off again. All right, well, I know I've been talking about my specialty toolbox. Let's get one of the specialty tools and put it away. Actually, we have two specialty tools out here. That's funny, battery hydrometer. How many of you, if anybody, still uses a battery hydrometer? All right, well, into secondhand Dan's workshop land. There's my standing toolboxes. And here's the one with automotive tools in it. Brake caliper compressor, several oil filter wrenches. And I don't know why, what am I ever going to do with a ring glue cleaner for piston rings? Another oil filter removing tool. Two more there. A ball joint fork. Battery cleaning tool. And for working on drum brakes, for removing the shoe retainer. There's another battery hydrometer. Or is it coolant? I'm looking through the phone with you. I'm going to have to look without the phone, okay. Ethyl glycol, so that would be coolant. The only other ethyl I know is Jughead's girlfriend. If you know who I'm talking about, comment down below. All right, a muffler exhaust pipe expander. Another oil filter wrench tool. Another brake adjusting tool. Compression tester. and a valve spring compressor. I seriously doubt I'll be compressing any valve springs in the near future, but you never know. All right, well, that closes this video out. Thanks for hanging out with Secondhand Dan, and check out some of my other previous videos. They're all going to be good, and the future ones too. So thank you, and goodbye.